Remember, if your console fails, just put it on a more successful one so you don't lose all your investment.
So, the Wii U and the Switch, which one had more units sold? It's a trick question, man. It's obviously the Switch. There's people on Earth that don't even know the Wii U exists. So yeah, the Wii U failed to captivate many people that weren't Nintendo diehards because the gamepad not being that captivating of a gimmick. In fact, it made the darn thing more expensive than it had to be. But despite being a failure, it was home to a lot of classic titles. And Nintendo definitely realized this, especially when they saw how good the Switch was doing. And they went like, yeah, might as well try again, I guess. And there are a handful of games from Wii U not on Switch, but most of the first-party library that isn't something stupid like Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival is here. So, today I'm going to talk about the games that crossed the border from the Wii U to Switch. Some of which I'll be talking about from a more general standpoint, basically going off other people's opinions because I don't own a Wii U. And secondly, I don't own some of these games. So yeah, that's enough babbling. Let's go. And the first one just so happens to be Breath of the Wild. Yeah, you could argue.
Drew, they came out on the same day. It doesn't count.
They worked on this game for Wii U for most of its development, and then eventually starting developing it for Switch. So you could call bullcrap because it wasn't the same day, but its DNA is pretty Wii U, all things considered. But I feel like a lot of people, me included, think of Breath of the Wild as a Switch game, but it was also on that pesky little rectangle. But its version on Wii U isn't all too different. Gamepad features were planned when it was primarily a Wii U game, but they ended up scrapping it, maybe because of functional reasons, and possibly even because they didn't want it to have an advantage over the Switch version. And from what I can tell, the Switch version does run better overall, because they definitely started to optimize the game for Switch above all else at a certain point. The next game that released is not by Nintendo, but was exclusive to the Wii U when it first launched, LEGO City Undercover. This is mostly the same game as it was on Wii U, but obviously the gamepad features are axed. It had a bunch of gameplay uses, but they could easily be converted into one screen. Like, sure, these features aren't totally as seamless, but is that really a big selling point for buying the Wii U version today?
If you aren't that smart in the head, then yeah.
And in 2017, this game got released on all the modern platforms at a higher price tag, at about $50. And let me introduce something that will be referenced quite a few times this video. It's called the Switch tax. Basically, some of these games got released at $50 at launch, and maybe even got a Nintendo Select's permanent discount at $20, but Nintendo will still sell it for $60 because they know someone will buy it knowing how large the Switch audience is. And with this game, yes, it also launched at $50, but it got Nintendo Select's price cut, which made it sting a little more when this game launched at $50, and it's basically the same game. However, this game is like $30 at most now, and it goes on sale a lot. I've seen this game at like $6 in the eShop before, and generally this game is pretty cheap nowadays, which is pretty par for the course for most LEGO games that aren't as valued. This version, comparative to the Wii U version, has slightly better loading screens, but all versions of this game have long loading screens. Like, my god. It's not enraging or anything, it's just an excuse to be alone in my thoughts, and I don't want to do that, because I'll remember the cover art for Super Bust a Move.
I don't even know what a Bust a Move is, but that cover art plagues my mind every now and then. I hate it.
But anyways, this game is basically the same game, and if you can, I suggest you pick it up. It's pretty different from most LEGO games, as it actually has an original story instead of just being based on another franchise. And plus, its plot and characters are pretty good, and it's kind of like GTA in some ways, just more sanitized and family-friendly ways. Then after that came the big one, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. What can I say about this game that people haven't already said? Heck, things I myself haven't said already. It's Mario Kart 8 on Wii U, except you have a proper battle mode and 2 item slots. It was just cool to see a Mario Kart of this graphical quality on a handheld for the first time, which was also part of the magic of the Switch in the first couple years of its life. And then they added new Link character skins and Labo support, okay, whatever. But then they decided to double the game out of nowhere. Now, this game goes from a pretty definitive version of Mario Kart 8 to the absolute best version of the game, with so many old tracks coming back with the occasional new track. Wave 1 and even Wave 2 had some varying quality, but most of the tracks in this DLC are super solid. This is just a great $25 worth of stuff. Pokkén Tournament DX.
What is that name even supposed to mean?
Well, I'll tell you. It's a Pokemon fighting game in the style of Tekken, thus the name Pokkén.
I still don't get it.
Well, too bad. Pokkén Tournament definitely takes a DNA of Tekken, but mixed it with the moves from Pokemon. And I'm not a big fan of either series, but I've actually dabbled in Pokemon, so I might understand some crap going on here. In terms of content added, this game was also in the arcade, and they kept on getting characters, so the Switch version also continued to be supported for a bit there, while the Wii U version, was a corpse. So there is added value, and from what I can tell, it didn't get a Nintendo Selects release, so there's not much to complain about here. It's basically the same game with some added arcade content with DLC. I said that really weirdly, I'm sorry. Now, Nintendo started to get fairly dependent on Wii U ports in 2018, because this is by far the year with the most Wii U ports.
First game's Bayonetta. I didn't record anything for this. I don't care enough about Bayonetta to say anything much about it. So this is just an acknowledgement.
Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. Alright, here we get into another discussion of the Switch tag. Because what did this version add? A new snout for Donkey Kong and a Funky Kong mode. That's quite literally it, and they're charging $10 more than its launch price, and even more money than its Nintendo Selects price. Unless that tax is also a Funky Kong tax, and as much as I respect Funky Kong, I don't need to pay $10 extra for him. It's still a good game, but overpriced. Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. One interesting thing is that it also came out on the 3DS. Of all games to port, why this one? I mean, I'm glad they did, because even if I only have the Switch version, I've heard because of the second screen, it's easier to control than the Switch version, which I'll get into in a second. Now, this version of the game does a little retconning, as the Wii U version was a prequel to Mario's 3D World, and the Switch and 3DS versions are a prequel to Mario Odyssey, and instead of having extra levels based off 3D World, they're based off Mario Odyssey. It even advertises the Odyssey levels on the box. Now, on the one hand, there's removed content, but it's also replaced with more content, so I don't really know how to feel. It also kind of messes with the Mario canon, because, like, which one of these two endings are actually, like, real? Which one is actually canon to Mario? It's weird. The Switch version also got DLC, which I haven't really seen many people acknowledge or buy, but it's more content, so if you're a big fan of the game, then you're probably a pretty happy person. Now, in terms of how this game controls, you have a pointer on the screen in docked or tabletop mode that is used in place of the gamepad's touchscreen functionalities. And, I don't know, it's just annoying. It's a tedious workaround for these parts. Again, no problem on 3DS, and no problem in the handheld mode. It's not the worst thing that they could have done, but it's just annoying. And before I move on, one funny thing about this is that it came up before the 3D World port. Yet it literally came from a level style in 3D World. Cause that makes so much sense.
It's like if my son was born before me.
How did he come into existence then? That's a weird analogy.
Well, what Nintendo did here was pretty weird too.
Good point, I think.
Hyrule Warriors, the Zelda version of the Warrior game franchise, where you kill a bunch of enemies, and this game takes the Wii U version and makes it run a bit better, and also adds all the extra content in the 3DS version, making it the self-proclaimed Definitive Edition. Not much more to say, it's just a complete package for this game, which I think is pretty neat. Now, in 2019, we have a whopping one game, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. Still has a U in the title, because Nintendo probably knew people would buy it despite the U, because, like, would people who didn't know what a Wii U was question it? Maybe for a second, but again, they'll still buy it. Now, this game is another victim of the Forbidden Switch tags, but Nintendo tried to defend this one with the excuse that this is Mario U and Luigi U packed together. Yet, they released the same bundle on Wii U, and it was priced the same as Deluxe, but they definitely can't say it's something that they've done for the first time. But this game also adds Toadette, and there's a power-up that turns her into Peachette, so she can just transform into Peach. Alright, cool, that's worth the port, definitely. So that's kind of it, mostly the same game, really only removing a mode that used the gamepad, and it's still mostly a pile of mediocrity. Now here we go, 2020, Tokyo Mirage Sessions.
Huh? What?
It's kinda got like anime inspiration or something. I'm not really into anime. Do I sound like the average anime viewer? No, I don't, so I don't really care about it.
Wonderful 101. This game was developed by the same people as Bayonetta and was a Wii U exclusive, but they ended up self-publishing a Switch and PS4 version, and they started to get people online to fund it. Even though, get this, Nintendo offered to publish it.
But Nintendo only wanted it to be on their platform, and Platinum wanted to be on different platforms. So Nintendo allowed them to do it, but they wouldn't be publishing it.
Yeah, it's the same game, but it removes mentions of Nintendo publishing it from the game's credits. Pikmin 3 Deluxe. So this game on Wii U and the previous two games on Wii had support from the Wii Remote and Nunchuk, and from what I've inferred, it plays really well that way. And the Switch port kinda does that with Joy-Cons, but it's not as efficient because you have to realign it, and it's definitely something that people who are avid Wii or Wii U Pikmin players might have to get used to. But yeah, it's Pikmin 3 for the most part, but it has all the DLC and some new prologue missions. So there is some definite content here, but Switch tax does also kind of apply.
Now, the final ports as of this video in 2021.
Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. For a while, it felt like this port was never gonna happen, because pretty much every Wii U game got its chance for this one. And this one honestly felt like a no-brainer, but it took nearly 4 years to happen. But alas, it happened, and my god, this is just so good. I plan to go more in depth on this port in about a year, so let me just briefly summarize why this is the second best port behind Mario Kart 8. First of all, the game is faster.
It's around 20 to 30% faster.
And other quality of life improvements are made, which is also very nice. But alongside that, they decided to make a whole new open Mario game out of the 3D World engine. It seems like some kind of experiment for the Mario series. Every place in this game is in the same world, no loading screens. And yeah, this is a really fun experimental Mario game where you have to avoid Bowser's Fury. Some goop took over Bowser and now he's some kind of Godzilla monster. You collect cat giants who eventually grow as big as Bowser and fight him. It doesn't last too long, but I liked it enough to 100% it, which took me a couple weeks, so I got some worth out of this. In short, $60 well spent. Switch tax doesn't remotely apply here. Fatal Frame, Maiden of Black Water.
What am I supposed to say about this game? Like, what am I honestly, truly supposed to say about this game? I know nothing about it, so I'm not commenting.
Now that's all the ports that came to Switch, but how about games that replaced the Wii U games, basically direct sequels to games that were on Wii U? Splatoon 2, which is the second Splatoon game after the first one on Wii U. In some ways, this game can feel like Splatoon 1.5 because its DNA is very ingrained in the original, but it does have enough new to replace it, and I really don't have much more to say about it, to be honest. Smash Ultimate, the direct sequel to Smash 4. Now these Smash 4 games, I'd say are the most connected games in the series because they're similar playstyle, and they're both developed by Bandai Namco. And yeah, Smash Ultimate is basically Smash 4, but they decided to add like every character from every previous game, and a new single player mode, and a bunch of stages, and a bunch of new content. Yeah, this game just does a lot, and in comparison, Smash 4 is kinda hollow to go back to. They're both good games,
but generally speaking, Ultimate is the better game.
True. Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. It just basically replaced every Mario and Sonic game on the Wii U, and yeah, it's just the same thing, really. But there's a story this time. I don't really care about the series. And the last sequel, the most Wii U adjacent, is Mario Maker 2. Now, this game is basically the Wii U game, but with added things, a new menu, and all that along with a new 3D World theme. But the general basics here is kept the same. The one strange removal is the amiibo functionality. In the original game, certain amiibos could be scanned, and you get to play as that character, which is so cool. But the only thing that they have here that's close to that is a Link power-up. But hey, Mario Maker 2 is still a really cool game. Just kinda sucks that a feature like that is axed.
But is it really worth getting a Wii U just because of this feature? Absolutely yes, get me a Wii U right now.
Okay, yeah. Oh, really? Okay. Bye. My local Walmart sold its last Wii U 11 years ago.
But it launched 11 years ago.
Yes.
So, that's every Wii U to Switch port. What have we learned today?
That it's easier to be lazy.
Well, I learned that my local Walmart sold only one Wii U during its lifetime. But that works too, I guess.